All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm Meredith. I am a user experience researcher with D-Scout, Duolingo. Woo. I'm a research practitioner. I'm also a manager there. If you don't know, Duolingo is an online language learning platform. We're also starting to introduce new subjects that you can learn, math, music, check it out. But today, in our brief time together, I'm hoping to sort of get really real and concrete with real examples of what Katie was just talking about how we, as UXRs and practitioners, thought leaders, can really mold that relationship and have influence over how our companies are implementing AI in our products. So we're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first, I acknowledge that this is a really challenging space, but I am not here to solve that right now. I am not an AI expert. I'm not a Gen AI expert like other people on the panel, but I do know UXR. We all know UXR, and if you take away one thing, just know there's no time like the present to spread our research wings, right? And embrace this challenge head on. The fundamentals of our craft remain regardless of the complexities of the tech, so hang on to that. And at Duolingo, what we've seen is longitudinal research, again, just as Katie mentioned, has been the most impactful in helping us build up a body of work here. Diary studies, #ad, because yes, we do use D-Scout for many of our diary studies. Also dog fooding. You may have some hot takes there, but dog fooding has proved incredibly valuable in getting cross-collaborative feedback, cross-functional, non-technical eyes on the product, and your fellow coworkers will have opinions. So I'm not precious about that. I think both forms of longitudinal work perform much better than a one-and-done sort of lab study. So, all right, so we've been building up a body of work here for quite some time. 2 takeaways. The first, expect the worst, right? Like not just from the AI, but from people. You know, even your users, there are bad actors out there. And so it is on us to advocate for moderation, guardrails. There are moderation tools that already exist that you should make sure your company is using in how they're implementing the AI. Duolingo has been working with AI for years, really since the inception of our company. We've been using AI to power the personalization of our lessons, adaptive skills, teaching specific lexemes. So it's not new to the company, and there's a head of AI. We've written white papers about human in the loop. The safeguards are there, like the fundamentals are there, but this is where UXR can actually jump in and up-level the conversation to get more nuanced in how we're fine-tuning the prompts all the way up to the visual sort of UI wrapper of the experience. So this is the Duolingo Max subscription feature or product that we've launched pretty recently. And the 2 main features are AI-driven, it's conversational, it uses OpenAI's GPT-4 to power the interaction. And Explain My Answer is, it uses AI to help users understand their mistakes and understand why they're making mistakes and be more explicit about the grammar and the rules that they want to learn. And Roleplay helps learners practice their conversation skills in real-world scenarios. This is a real user need that we've identified, and AI can help power that and scale that. But again, in UXR, you see it doesn't always go according to plan, right? And even the best intentions can go awry. So let's imagine, true story, you're running a diary study and you're a user that wants to do a role play scenario. You're interacting with Oscar here. The scenario is mail a package. Awesome, like this seems like a real world scenario. I'm excited to practice. Hello, would you like to mail a package? Oui, right? You respond in French, you're feeling good, you're practicing. Great, let's get started. What's your name? Okay, I'm starting to have questions, right? Like, why do you need to know my name? Should I do this? You know, is it my first name, last name? Fine, Meredith, McDermott, submit. Thanks, now what's your address, right? Like, oh, real quote from a user that experienced this, I started to feel a little uncomfortable, right? Like, nothing nefarious is necessarily going on here, but it feels creepy. So this is where UXR can say, we can do better, right? Like, we need more guardrails. We need to fine tune the prompts. And especially with products and services like ours, where we're really trying to be smart and personalized, we can do better and we can be more nuanced. Here's another example from a Spanish role-play scenario that a user surfaced to us. The context is, you're chatting with this bot in Spain, and he's eating gazpacho and arepas, which not necessarily offensive or anything, but it's culturally odd because those could be Venezuelan or Colombian foods, but here you are in Spain. So it's like, is AI, is this intelligence so intelligent? But number two, right? Define the best, right? It's not all about just saying, this experience is not good, our users are gonna hate it. It's also about being that voice of the users that we're used to being and helping them unlock the sort of superpowers of the tech. What's the value that this will bring them? And basically what we've done at Duolingo is test the analog version. Like, what's the best possible experience in the real world before you jump into the Gen AI bot version? And so these are just some screenshots, examples of some of the many varieties of tests that we did diary studies on, of the UI, of the copy, the value props, the branding, all the way up to, these the very different sorts of feedback you'll get when you're introduced to a human tutor, that says, that opens in Spanish versus that greets you in English, and just how different that experience can feel. But what are these guiding principles we can learn from the human version of the experience we're trying to build for our users? We did this on Dscout, we did this with Wizard of Oz testing. Your product teams may not always like what you hear, because here is where we started to get user feedback that the ideal human relationship in this setting for personalized learning is human. It's like, it's a tutor, it's the best teacher you've ever had, right? And it's authentic. So the guiding principles were around authenticity, authentic, real. What happens when you try to make GPT authentic? It's just like awkward and weird and like, no, it's like a scam, and they pick up that this isn't authentic. So then what? Again, this may vary based on your own products and services and markets, but what Duolingo did was we said, you know what, okay, the best is out there and it's human, but what's the beta, right? And so we as UXRs can define the beta with the constraints. We love constraints. And the unlock for us was saying authenticity might not be possible with this tech right now, and maybe that's okay. Like, you don't need a one-to-one human to AI relationship, because it's weird and can get very dark very quickly. But what we can do is build a relatable experience. So this pivot from authenticity to relatable really helped unlock just more of the delight, leaning into the extemporaneous nature of the dialogue, sort of more tongue-in-cheek, cute characters, fun, the humor. So our content studios and our content designers really ran with this and created their own sort of guiding principles for what the content of the conversation might look like, where it doesn't feel so cringe, but it still feels valuable and relatable, real. So a good conversation can be relatable, engaging, and just a little bit unpredictable. So again, leaning into that chaotic, what was the word kept? Whatever. You know what? It's unpredictable, right? And that's okay. You don't have to understand it, but you know it's going to happen and things are going to go off the rails. So lean into it in a measured way. And our content folks, they introduce plot twists into the prompts. Like, we are leaning into the extemporaneous nature. And then last but not least, the final example I want to show, just again to really sort of drive home how much impact from the prompt and the back-end engineering all the way up to these like tiny little visual details that UXR can impact when you're working with designers and UX writers. The interstitial screens, like the loading screens, how are we setting up our users to engage in this environment? And here we are again, leaning into humor a little bit, right? Like, Duo is warming up his AI superpowers before you launch a role play scenario, calibrating grammar, syntax, and synthesizing data. Yum, right? Like it's cute. It's sort of an acknowledgement that things might get a little weird and there is AI involved, but at the same time, let's not take ourselves too seriously yet. This tech is not perfect. So that's it. 10 minutes flies by, but thanks.